sahabat Santa Angela dimanapun Anda berada. Saat ini saya bersama Suster Armida, suster kami yang tinggal di Grezze di rumah Santa Angela. Beliau adalah penerjemah buku Against the Tide, buku yang menceritakan tentang riwayat Santa Angela.
The writings, of course, are very important because those are Angela's words to us, very short. It's important, I think, that we realize the context in which they were written. It was towards the end of her life, at the time of the foundation of the company. The rule is written for the members of the company, the other women who were living a consecrated life like hers. This is their way of life. It's described very beautifully in the prologue, and then each chapter spells out how to live this new way of consecrated life. So it's very specific for the members of the company. The councils were written for the local leaders of the company in Brescia, those who were responsible for a group of members who were also seen as the formators. Angela describes them as the leaders and spiritual guides. So it was they were her advice to the leaders how to form, how to relate to, how to treat the members of the company. And then the third, the testament or the legacies, Angela wrote those specifically for the lady governors who were not members in the same way as those who were following the rule, but they were involved in the company, and Angela entrusted the administration of the company to them. And the care of the members and the leaders, the care of the company, we could say, to them. So I think it's important that we always bear in mind who she was writing for, and the context in which she was writing, the beginning of this new company. But we can also say that in those writings, we find some very beautiful words that touch us a lot. But we also find words that have been used over the centuries in different contexts. In Ursuline schools, often, because Angela's writing for her daughters and members of the company, but many Ursuline teachers and lay teachers as well have used those words in a pedagogical way and looked at them as advice on how to relate to the pupils, the students. So those, and also the testament in the same way. So there is a timelessness about them, and even today they are often used in a school context. Also, they can be used in our relationships with everyone, certainly our relationships among us in community as sisters, our relationships also with the people we work with, all the people we know. They can be used in a family relationship, because Angela emphasizes the respect and esteem we must have for one another. Also, even when there's a difficult situation to deal with, have patience. This comes so often. Have patience. Wait and see. Say something if you need to, but then wait and see. Have patience. You do not know what God will do with someone, inside someone. So we have to really have that patience that she had with her daughters and sisters. She went to Brescia in 1516. She was already about 40 years old, which was quite getting on in those days. She was asked to go to console Caterina Patengula. So it wasn't something that she decided, but she responded to that invitation. She had had the vision at Brodazzo.
Yeah.
She had had the seed of an inspiration, but she hadn't had like instructions from God or explanation. Just this vision of young women and angels going up and down the ladder. Only that. And it stayed in her heart.
Yes, yes.
I think also with Angela we can think, like Mary in the Gospel, so often we hear she pondered these things in her heart. I think Angela was like that as she had grown older. So she went to Brescia. She began to meet people, first of all in the house of Caterina Patengula. She met Antonio Romano. She went to live in his house. She met all kinds of people in Brescia, important people, influential people, poor people, most particular the women who were, she could see, wanted consecrated life, but not in a monastery, theologians and preachers, all kinds of people, people who came for prayer, for practical advice, for all sorts of things. And I think, God doesn't just give an inspiration without any help. And for me, I think these people that she met, God was putting them in her path to show her the way. And her secretary, Cozzano, says how she waited and waited and waited. So 1516, she had gone to Brescia. It was 1535 that the company was founded. And maybe 1530, 1532, she was beginning to form the people of the company. So again, she did wait. Corsano says she wanted to be really sure that this was what God was asking of her. And she waited until she was really pushed. She wanted that security that this is really what God wants. And I believe that God was showing her that through the people that she met in Brescia. That she is relational. Her attention to the person. She always looks at the individual. And she often, when she's saying something to the leaders about their daughters, the members, she says one by one. In other words, not just as a group, but each individual. That comes through really a lot. And she was to pay attention to each one's situation, know them not just by name, but by everything about them. This comes through many, many times, and it's clear that, as you say, relational describes her very, very well. I think the insieme is one of the keys, one of the special words of Angela. Union, harmony, concord, we hear that many times. But within that union, and if you have that union and communion, all the more do you want to pay attention to each individual. So she was, very, very attentive, and calls us to be attentive to each one as well, to really understand the person. And I think, again, it's something that we need very much today, to understand each other, to understand why a person is like this. She encourages that, to understand the individual and often to wait to see what will come from somebody. Yeah. Is a model for our world today, and that her openness to God first of all, but her openness and readiness to be understanding towards others, even when it looks like something is not right, is a model for our. For example, when she speaks about heretics, she says, tactfully avoid listening to them, but consider each one as good. I think in today's world, and particularly for young people growing up in today's world, it's important to have that respect for one another, that respect for people who are different from ourselves. Consider each one as good. Have confidence in people's motives. I think even where it's very difficult to do that, it's important if we want a world in the future where there will be peace and harmony.
We are very appreciate for your coming to Indonesia. Thank you very much, Sister. God bless you.
Thank you.
Sahabat Santa Angela, semoga pembicaraan kita pada saat ini bisa menginspirasi kita semua bahwa seorang Santa Angela, orang sederhana dari desa di Bersama, bisa memberi inspirasi begitu besar bagi dunia, tidak hanya di Italia tetapi di seluruh dunia. Sampai jumpa lagi di lain kesempatan. Salam Serviam.